Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel, and today we're looking at an effect by Penguin Magic and Nicholas Lawrence, and that is Smooth. Now this is something that came out quite a long time ago, but something I've purchased recently because I really like things through dollar or through receipts effect, and I was trying to see to broaden my horizon past the normal Sharpie and pen, and I wanted to see how this effect can be applied with different objects. And I know that this was one that was talked about a lot when it came out, had some really good reviews, some more bad reviews. So I kind of wanted to pick this up for myself and try it out. And now that I've tried it out and I've played around with it, let's jump into the review and let's tell you more about Smooth. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Smooth. Now, what is Smooth? Smooth is essentially a chapstick through receipt or through dollar bill, through a borrowed dollar bill. And yeah, that's pretty much what it is. There's not much more to say about it. So just to show you how this would play out, let's roll a clip of me performing this right now. Great, so you saw what Smooth kind of is and kind of how it looks like. It looks very, very visual, and it has that very beautiful moment of you pushing the lip balm through the bill, and they can see how the tip is traveling through the bill. It is very visual, and it sets itself apart from other effects in regard, whereas in other effects, you usually hide the pen inside and you stab it, or you just take it and you just stab it really quickly without them looking. Or others, you have like a weird grip and you put it from the bottom, or you slide it in and you have to do something like that, right? So this is very visual in the regard of how fair it is when it goes in and how it goes out. It is super, super fair in that regard, and it looks very nice. So knowing that, let's talk into where do you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get. So you can buy this at Penguin Magic. I do believe it is exclusive to them. I have not seen this sold anywhere myself, so I do think it is only available through Penguin. Maybe Nicholas Lawrence may have this if you contact him, but I do think it's solely available through Penguin. It will cost you and set you back $39.99 US, which is around 50 to 55 Canadian. And what you get is this typical Penguin Magic packaging, the nice little metal box with the flap. And inside of here, you get two things. You get your instructional video, which is directly on Penguin. It is taught by Nicholas Lawrence, and he teaches you everything that you need to know. It's well shot, well mic'd. There's different angles. He goes through every cleanup and every move that you need to know to perform this. And then you also get your lip balm gimmick and your lip balm as well in order to perform the effect, and they're done really well. The gimmicks are really well made, and I do think that with just a bit of care, these are going to probably last you an incredibly long time. I think that even if you perform this and you have a gig every single day and you perform this for 15 tables at every single gig every day for an entire year, your gimmicks are still going to be up and running and almost like brand new. So this is gonna last you a very, very, very long time. So really well built in terms of craftsmanship and what you're getting. So having said that, let's talk now about the difficulty. So how difficult is this to perform? Now I'm gonna split the difficulty into two sections. Section 1, the penetration and removal of the lip balm, and the second one, the activation, cleanup, deactivation of the effect, okay? So the penetration itself, so when you're in the moment where you penetrate through and you show, and you penetrate out and you show, is very easy. It is incredibly, incredibly easy. So the main pushing and removing is basically self-working. It is super, super easy. There's a bit of a grip and things that you have to consider regarding angles. We're going to talk about that in practicality. But the main action that you have to do is super easy to grasp, and you're going to get it in a few seconds. However, you will have to practice getting into that position. So the ignition of the effect, you will have to practice a bit. So getting into that position where you push, you will have to practice the move a bit that you need to do. It is a very deceptive move and is done on a very good timing and a good position, that maybe on video you didn't really notice that because it is a video and there was no one there, but in real life performances it works very well. However, the cleanup afterwards is where things get a bit tricky. And even if you read the reviews on Penguin, a lot of people said that they're not doing this effect or they're not seeking to perform it because of the cleanup. Now, to mention about this is that yes, this gimmick does a lot of things better than other gimmicks in the market, but because of the extra engineering that this gimmick has to accomplish those moments, means that it is not as clean when you end it. Because a lot of routines, right, they're not as clean the moment you push through, right? But once you get to show and you do that movement, you can, for a lot of them, you can give out the props immediately to the spectators for them to examine. And that's not the case here, because for the cleanup here, you are going to need to palm, you're going to need to hide out, you're going to need to slide out, you're going to need to do a lot of things for this to be examinable. And even if you read at the end of the box, one of the biggest things they say is, did we mention that everything is examinable? And that is true, but you will have to jump through quite some hoops and quite some sleight of hand to achieve that examinability. So you will not just be able to pull it out and give it out. You'll have to pull it out, hold the chapstick here, show the spectator the bill, switch hands, give the bill again, give the chapstick, right? So there's a lot of moves and things going on here in the cleanup, which means that overall, as an entire routine, if you want everything to be examinable, this is more intermediate to advanced. However, if you don't want this to be examinable at all at the end, so you just do it and you don't want to hand out your props, then this is more intermediate towards beginner. So you really do have to prioritize this. If you really value the inspectability of this, then it is intermediate to advanced. If you don't value the inspectability, it is more intermediate to beginner. So you do have to keep that in mind regarding the routine. Having said that, let's get into practicality. So what do you need to carry around with this? You just need to carry around your chapstick or your lip balm. And I've just realized I've been calling this a lip balm for a bit, and that's kind of what we call it here in Canada, but I do know most people call it a chapstick, but I digress. But yeah, you're gonna have to carry that, and your gimmicks carry themselves with the chapstick, so you don't have to carry anything around in some extra pockets or anything like that. So everything is in a unit in your pocket, and you can place that. It is pretty durable, as I mentioned, in your pocket or in your top pocket or anywhere, and carry it around with you. And you can have a bill or borrow a bill because the bill is ungimmicked. So regarding that, you don't have to carry much, just your lip balm, and then just have a bill or a receipt borrowed, and you're good to go. So now moving on to the second thing is, how do you perform this effect? Sitting, standing up, how do you do this? So I do think that this has to be performed standing up. I've tried to do this standing down, and it just doesn't really work well. So because of how this works, and because of how most things through bills or receipts work, and I think a lot of you are familiar, if you perform this at spectators that are sitting down and you're standing up, they're going to see something underneath the bill that they shouldn't see, right? So I do think that this has the same kind of requirements and deficiencies in that regard as the other versions. So I do think that this is much better performed standing up, two people standing up. Standing down, you will have to play a bit more with your angles, and you will have to change your grips and the way you present it. It can be done, but you will risk a bit more flashing regarding that. But apart from that, you don't need a table or anything like that. You just have to be conscious of whether you're standing up, standing down, and the height differences between you and your spectators as to them not really seeing below the bill, which brings me into angles. So regarding the main trick, angles are, of course, no one can see what's below, but as well as I mentioned, because this gimmick is a bit more tuned up and jacked up compared to other ones, you cannot really have anyone behind you, even when the bill is, when the chapstick is through the bill and you're showing it around, you cannot have a clean display. A really super clean display. I don't want to give away too much, but you do have to be careful of your angles at a lot of points in the routine. No one really can be behind you at a lot of spots. For example, at the start, you do have to be careful of the angles. In the middle, you do have to be careful of the angles. And in the cleanup, you have to be careful of some angles as well. So I definitely say 180 for you to be kind of carefree angle-wise. Examinability, I think I've already given you all you need to know about examinability in the previous section where I talked about what this difficulty or not. So yes, this is examinable, but you will have to do a bit of cleanup with some sleight of hand, palms, etc. in order for it to be completely clean. I won't repeat myself since I've already said that. And lastly, what is the reset? The reset is super quick. You can literally just do it as you take your chapstick in your pocket, you place it there, and as you're going to another table, you can literally just fix it in your pocket. It's like 2 seconds, super quick. Having said all this, where would you perform smooth? So where would you perform smooth? Smooth, of course, is not something you're really going to do on stage, parlor, or cabaret. It doesn't really fit that kind of venue, so you're not really going to do it there. This is more of a casual kind of walk around, table hopping, restaurant type, quick effect that you want to do, or social media, anything like that. I think that is where this excels. So it's kind of just an impromptu little thing that you do here and there. It is not really a showpiece or something that you're gonna, rush to do out at your weddings or at your corporate gigs. You're maybe gonna have it on you, but it's not gonna be something that you're gonna like, oh, I can't wait to go at this big Amazon party and perform smooth to everyone there. It's not really gonna be like that. It's more of an, casual thing. If someone tells you, oh, can you show me something? Or if you're at a restaurant and someone is paying, or you're waiting for the check, oh, can I use that bill for 1 second? Let me show you something. It's more of that type of trick. In my opinion, you may be wrong. You may be thinking I'm wrong and you contradict that, and that's totally fine. But to me, this is more of a, let me just do a quick thing for you at this moment type trick. So having said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of smooth before jumping into the verdict and my final thoughts? So let's start with the negatives. So what are the negatives? The negatives here are, one, the angle. So you can't really have any super ultra mega clean display at any point in the routine of the chapstick because of how this works. A lot of routines, once the object is through the bill, you can literally even hold the bill, show 360, you can hold it by the fingertips and show, and you can't really do that here as well. Additionally, for the examinability and the cleanup of this, you will have to jump through some hoops and through some sleight of hand and through some angles, and this will require a lot of practice if you want to get away with that and have everything examinable. So that's something else you need to consider. And the last kind of negative that I can say about this is that because the fact that the gimmick is ultra engineered, it kind of removes from the cleanliness of the effect in a lot of aspects, except for the push through and push out, which I do think looks incredible. So if you value so much the push in and the push out and the visual of that, you will not be disappointed with this, and these negatives are going to kind of be put to the side. But if you don't really care about that, then these negatives are going to hold weight for you. But what are the positives? What are the positives? One, the instructional video is very good. The prop is really is extremely well built. The visual of pushing the chapstick through the bill is incredible. Is incredibly visual. And yeah, that's pretty much the main, and the fact that the routine is kind of an impromptu type trick is also very good, and that it is examinable if you jump through the hoops as well, and that it can be performed with a borrowed bill, but most of these effects can, so that's not really a major positive. That's pretty much all I have to say about Smooth. So, having said all of this, would I recommend Smooth, and what would I rate it out of 10? Would I recommend Smooth? I think I would only recommend Smooth to people that really want that beautiful visual of pushing it through and pulling it out. And you can see the cap going in and going out of the bill. If you really value that visual, then I do recommend Smooth. If not, I think there's other versions out there with other props that can play better. Yes, if you like the idea of a chapstick as well, this is the only chapstick version that I know of, so I would recommend it for you. But if you don't mind other props, if you don't mind pens, Sharpies, cigarettes, or vapes, I think that you can find better out there. For me, if ever anyone has watched all the video up until this point and you would like a review on it, I think that Vape Through by Luke Osland is the best object through bill I've ever bought, and the cleanest one in my opinion. It is incredible. So if you want me to make a review on that, just ask. But yeah, I do think there's better versions out there that are a bit more clean from start to finish. For example, as I mentioned, Vape Through is borrowed vape, borrowed bill, push through, take it out, give the items back, examinable, the entire routine, basically. So some of those effects have a bit more leeway, and I think that for me, the visual is not worth it for the amount of limitations you have angle-wise, slight-wise, cleanup-wise. I do think that there's better versions out there. So I only recommend this if you really want to chapstick through a bill or you really like that visual. If not, I think there are better versions out there of this type of effect. So what would I rate Smooth out of 10? I would rate Smooth a 6.25 out of 10. I do think the negatives and the over-engineering of the gimmick outweighs the actual visuals that you are getting with this. I think that yes, the visual is great, but is the visual really worth all of the hoops you have to jump through in the setup, in the examinability phase, in the cleanliness of showing the bill 360? Is it really worth it? I don't think that the visual is, at least for me. And that's what I have to say about Smooth. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave down a comment down below if you have any questions. And yeah, I'll see everyone in my next review. Have a great one, and bye.